My name's Alan Menezes, and I'm the director of the Pilates Institute of Australasia. With over 30 years' experience in teaching Pilates, especially in the rehab area, I've actually developed my own style of Pilates, which we've now called Menezes Method or Menezes Pilates. It's substantially different insofar as breathing technique goes, as far as abdominal connection goes, and as far as some of the muscle work goes as well. Coming from an athletic background and not a balletic background, we're actually making the exercises more suitable for everyone who wants to become the athlete within them. It works you harder, it gives you much more core control, and it actually makes you feel a lot better. We've got a new series of DVDs out, ranging from pregnancy, lower back pain, floor, and a few others. And we hope you really enjoy viewing them. We're now going to go over the principles of the Menezes Pilates method and as to why it's so different to the rest of Pilates. First of all, we're going to start with the feet. The posture starts from your feet. Anything that happens through the rest of your spine, through walking or standing, actually comes from the way your feet are placed. So we're going to talk about tripods first. So Kara, if you'd just like to stand over here on the floor. Whenever you're working with your tripods, never stand on a carpeted area, a thick carpet, or a mat, because they've got a bit of give in them. When you're standing, you need to stand on 3 points of your feet that we call tripods. Point number 1 is the ball of the big toe. Point number 2 is the entire outside edge of the foot. And point number 3 is the center of the heel. So what you need to do here is stand with even pressure on all 3 points. When you're not standing with even pressure, just stand as you normally would without the pressure. And you'll notice to a certain extent that even though Kara's got really good arches here, slightly dropped. So when you stand on the tripods, you'll notice that the arches will increase. If you don't stand on the arches, they will pronate or drop on the arch. So we want to keep those arches pronated without gripping the toes, so the toes are relaxed. The next thing we're going to come to the knees. A lot of people do stand with hyperextended knees, so the knees actually sway back. Whenever you're standing around, always bend the knees very slightly, and you'll immediately notice you're starting to work your legs. So if we turn sideways for a second, okay, let's get the tripods engaged, and just lock your knees back. Okay, and you'll notice there's a sway back there. And you'll notice also that there was also corresponding sway back in the back here, but we'll come to that in a minute. Now, bend the knees very slightly, okay, and you'll find that you're actually going to start working those muscles. So you need to have the tripods engaged and the knees slightly bent. Turning around to the front again, we're going to work on the abdominals. We work on 2 areas of the abdominals, what we call the B-line and the core. Now, in most Pilates, they say navel to spine, or in most exercise programs, they'll say navel to spine. If you draw a line from your navel to your spine, from here all the way back here, you've got 5 lumbar vertebrae. And that navel to spine will hit around about the L2 or L3 lumbar vertebra. Most people's back problems are L4, L5, S1. So if you keep consistently drawing in the navel to the spine, it's not going to actually support the lower back area. So quite a while ago, we created a thing called the B-line. So the B-line is to draw a line from this hip bone here, actually otherwise known as an ASIS, your anterior superior iliac spine. Draw a line from this hip bone across to this hip bone here. And if you come back to the center of that line, you'll notice how the front of that is actually sticking slightly out of the line I just drew. So we're going to try and engage that without squeezing the backside, without tucking the pelvis, without leaning into the heels, and without sticking the backside out. What I'm going to do is to get Kara to pull away from my fingers. So sucking in deeply from where that B-line is. And you notice that pulls in there. Can you notice that pulling in there? You're also going to feel a bit taller. Now, what some people are going to feel is actually, they might feel a bit of discomfort in their back. That's not because the back is arching. When you draw the B-line in, it actually lengthens up the spine. So that discomfort is actually just a little bit of lengthening of the spine if you do get it. So we also call this the B-line because think of it as the bikini line for the girls, and B for belt line for the guys. So pull your bikini line or belt line behind your hip bones. Now, for many years, the B-line has been used, for over 20 years in fact, and navel to spine has been used a lot. So all of this is actually pulling front to back or anterior to posterior. That doesn't actually apply so much anymore now as a stable area to work with. It doesn't actively strengthen your core, and more research is coming out to prove that. So a few years ago, we also developed our core. At the moment, everyone is talking about core stability, and core stability becomes the buzzword in the industry. But when they talk about it, they still are going front to back, navel to spine, B-line in fact. So we now only use the B-line in forward flexion and lateral flexion of your torso. The rest of the time we use the core. And this is the description of the core. What you'd like to think of here is the area between the ribs and the hips, which in fact is the definition of your center as per Joseph Pilates, the area between the ribs and the hips, front and back. We added in the sides. So what we're going to do here is start to strengthen your core from the sides, which in my mind is far, far more important than trying to strengthen it from the front. So the area between your ribs and your hips, what I'd like you to do here is use some imagination. Evacuate it so there's a big blank gap, and all I can see is your spine. You're going to replace that area with a large apple. Core the apple and throw the core out. So you've got an apple sitting there with a hollow down the center, and that hollow is in front of your spine. So, Cara, what I'd like you to do is place your hands underneath your rib cage. Okay? You're going to press with your thumbs, because that's going to just keep the back arched, because you want that arch in the back. Squeeze your sides in, and then squeeze your fingers in from the front. Okay? So you're squeezing that hollow core till it disappears. Your B-line is still engaged. This is part of that core. So, now, keep squeezing that hollow core till it's gone. And now, keep squeezing that core with your muscles and take your hands away. Can you feel your sides pulling in? Okay, and you'll even notice from before that the sides have actually come in a little bit here. So every time we mention squeeze the core in any of our programs, it means squeeze from the back, the sides, and the front, this area here. And if you feel these muscles on the sides working, that's exactly what you want. You want your obliques and your transverse abdominals from the sides pulling in. Because your transverse abdominals, the core muscles everyone's talking about, they're actually a cylinder-shaped muscle. They're not a flat muscle. So if you go front to back, anterior to posterior, the sides of them will flare out, and so you have no lateral support. So if you're turning to look down the driveway, reversing, you can actually cause some problems because there's no lateral support. So squeezing your core this way gives you that lateral support, but also elevates your spine, so it decompresses your spine, takes the pressure off your lower back. So the B-line and the core together work really well. Like I said, the B-line is used only for forward and lateral flexion of your torso. The core is used for everything else, including hyperextension. So when you're coming up out of a side flexion, so off you go to side flexion, that's your B-line there, and then squeeze your core to come up, and that elevates you and makes you grow taller. Okay? So the next thing we're going to work on here is the breathing. If you can turn around, all the way around. When breathing, we'd like you to think of this. Imagine someone's got their hands on your shoulder blades and breathe into the upper back. So when you're holding that B-line in, you're going to find if you try and take a breath in, you're going to feel like you're almost choking. Not enough room, like I almost did then. So what you'd like to do here is imagine there are hands on your shoulder blades, keep the B-line in, squeeze the core, and breathe into the upper back. So if you can breathe up there into the upper back, and then ocean breath out. Now what we mean by ocean breath out is all the air out of the lungs in probably a 4 count. So it's in through the nose for a 4 count, ocean breath out of the mouth for a 4 count. So take that breath in and ocean breath out. And you need to be able to hear this loud breathing consistently during your exercise program. Keep going. And the ocean breath out. That's what you want to hear. If you're not breathing loudly enough, you're not going to work that core effectively enough. Keep going. And ocean breath out. This time you're going to breathe into the upper back and the armpits. So imagine inflating balloons in the armpits. And notice the difference in the capacity here. You can see it from that view. The lungs actually open up a heap more. And ocean breath out. And last one. And relax. Okay, turn around, face the front again. Now, what we're going to do here is if you just keep your hands exactly where they are there, Cara. Cara's doing a perfect thing here that we've got to correct on her. If you notice the way her hands are facing, she's actually got her palms facing backwards. There's an animal that walks around like that. But anyway, we're going to work on this here. It's a postural thing. You notice if you take a comfortable, normal breath in and out, just a couple of comfortable breaths in and out, just normal. That's it. Now, if you notice, when the hands are facing like this here, the points of the elbows are actually facing way out here. So the points of the elbows are going way back there. Now, that's all controlled by this bone here called your humerus. So what I'd like you to do, Cara, is to turn the points of your elbows to face back. Okay? Not totally back, so they're not going inwards. That's it there. Okay? And notice when this turns back here, this muscle here, your pectoral muscle, opens. Your muscles in the back here also come together, so it improves your posture in the back here. Okay? So just relax again. Normal position. Okay? Watch the shoulders. And again, turn the points of the elbows back. And that comes slightly back there, and that'll make a big difference. Now a couple of comfortable breaths in and out again. Okay, and I don't know if you can notice this, but there is an increase in the lung capacity, and it's more comfortable. Okay? Now, you're not going to walk around the street like this. So obviously, when you turn the points of the elbows back, just slightly back, and you'll notice the palms will probably face the body. Okay? Now, also, turning around again. What we want here is to try and stop the shoulders hunching a lot when you're doing exercising. So we've got this thing here called shoulder blades into the pocket. So I want you to imagine you're wearing a pair of jeans with a pocket in the center down here. And you're going to squeeze your shoulder blades into that pocket. So you're going to go down and back. Don't go back and down, because if you go back and down, relax for a second. If you go, so squeeze back, good, and now try and go down. Not great. You're going to crane your neck forward, you're going to arch your back more. So what you want to do is gently draw the shoulders down and then back. And you're going to squeeze them down in towards the tailbone area here. Okay, it's just a bit of a tuck there. That's it. Okay, so here's the pocket. So squeeze the shoulder blades into that pocket. And notice the posture up here is much, much more upright and better. Okay, so let's turn around. This time we're going to face sideways to the camera. Okay, just there. So what we've got here, Cara does have a bit more of an extension in an arch in her back here called a lordosis. A little bit more than normal, and people call it a hyperlordosis as well. So what we're going to do here with that arch in the back there, and you'll notice there's a little bit of that B-line coming out there. So if you draw the B-line in, there, and notice what happens there. There's a little bit less of an arch there without leaning too far back. So your standing posture should actually be where your shoulder, or at least your ear, your shoulder, your hip, your knee, and your heel are virtually in a straight line. So if you're craning your neck forward too much, you've got to bring the head back there. So whenever exercising as well, think of where your eyes are going or your nose is going. If your nose is down, you will round your shoulders. So just try that. And feel the, and you'll notice the shoulders start to round. You feel a bit more compacted here. When you bring your nose up and the shoulder blades into the pocket, you open up much more. Your breathing is better. Your posture is a lot better. And keeping the B-line in. So we've got several things here to cover. We've got your tripods on your knees, bending the knees slightly. That's point number 1. Your B-line and your core. That's point number 2. Breathing into your armpits and your upper back. Point number 3. You're also going to lengthen through the crown of your head. So during all these exercises, one of the main principles here is also elongation. So lengthening through the crown. Lengthen through the crown of the head, shoulder blades down towards the pocket, which is the tailbone, tailbone towards the floor. And during the exercise, you'll see a lot of principles about elongation. Lengthening is not just through one point, it's through 2 opposite points. So if you're going to lengthen through your toes, make sure that the hip is also lengthening into the floor so it doesn't come off the floor. Things like that. And you'll see these happening during parts of the exercise program. Okay, we're going to get down onto the floor now and go over some breathing techniques. What we're going to cover here is basically how to breathe correctly and how to make your breathing more comfortable when doing exercises lying on your back. The majority of exercises in Pilates are lying on your back, and therefore you've got to make this as comfortable as possible. So if you look at the posture here, you can see that if you just move your arm out of the way there, there's quite a bit of an arch in the back over here, okay? Quite a bit of an arch. In fact, I can put my hand all the way under. You can see my fingers on the other side, and that's a normal posture that Cara would have gotten into. We'll come to that in a second, but let's talk about the breathing. Again, hands are by the sides. When you've got your hands by your sides on the floor, we need your palms up. Now, the reason for this is, if you have your palms down and you have an exercise with, say, for example, your legs are in the air and you start to struggle, you'll push your hands into the floor, so turn your palms down. And if you start pushing your hands into the floor, you'll notice that affects the neck area. Your neck might arch, you'll feel a strain in your shoulders. But if you turn your palms up and you push your elbows or hands into the ground, you're going to find that all you do is you'll stabilize the shoulder and work the tricep muscle over there. Can't be a bad thing. Okay, so it'll give you shoulder stability and also work your tricep and not strain your neck. So the first thing here is just again take a comfortable breath in and out. Okay, and just notice the lung capacity there. So now what I want you to do is lift your head, rest there, and again, a couple of comfortable breaths in and out. Notice immediately you can see the lungs are opening up. You can see the breathing moving here. And how does that feel on your neck?
A lot more comfortable.
Okay, so here what we're talking about is a lot of people do the exercises lying with their head right down on the ground. When you're curling forward with a lot of Pilates exercises which involve a contraction forward, otherwise a curl forward, you have to lift your head off the ground. Where the head is now, which is that cushion there, to where it was before, is what I call the dead zone. That area is called the dead zone. Because when you curl up, let me take that away for a second, okay? Now, just curl up, okay? And reaching the arms forward to mid thigh level, so okay, don't come too far up. And go back down again, all the way to the floor, and back up again. Do half a dozen of these and all the way down. And you'll notice that you're going to start straining the neck eventually because you're actually going all the way down. Your abdominals don't engage, and they don't engage until your head comes to that level where the cushion was. The initial part of the movement is the strain of the neck. So if you now go from there, a bit more comfortable, because you're not straining the neck through that small phase there, and you're connecting the abdominals earlier. Okay, relax. So a cushion underneath the head or a rolled up towel, but if you're rolling up a towel, make sure it's not rolled up underneath your neck. You've got to have it underneath the back of your head, okay? So the next thing here is that arch. By having the cushion there, if you noticed, that arch is actually reduced a little bit, hasn't it? Simply by having that there. Let me just go over this again. Rest your head back down. So watch the rib cage area here, watch the arch in the back. This time take a huge breath in. And notice how the back wants to arch a little bit more and relax. Notice that? Okay, lift your head. Take the breath in again, huge breath in. Notice it's much more stable in the back. I don't know if you noticed that. Can you feel the difference?
Yeah.
Okay, so cushion under the head is important for 2 points. The dead zone, so you don't get this whiplash effect on your neck, but also to keep your thoracic area more stable. Now, the other big thing in Pilates, again, palms up. The other big thing in Pilates as well at the moment is neutral spine. Everyone is using it, and I think they're actually using it incorrectly. When you've got this neutral spine, yes, there are exercises where you need to have that like that, but if you have neutral spine in this position here with an arch in your back, and then you want to take your legs into the air, you're going to struggle. You're going to strain with your hip flexors, and you're also going to find you'll get some back pain, and you might not even work your abs effectively. So we've got a thing called stable spine where we do not use this arch at all. We do not use neutral spine. Pilates himself never used neutral spine either, okay? People were saying, well, he didn't know the mechanics in those days, things like that. I think he actually did. Neutral spine is something that has come out in the last 10 or 15 years or so. Everybody is using it. And in actual fact, I don't think it's a good thing in certain cases. So what's going to happen here, we're going to show you the detrimental effects of neutral spine. We've got neutral spine here at the moment, which is that small little arch in the back, okay? If you take your legs right down on the ground, you'll have neutral spine still. I agree with neutral spine when the body is in this position or when you're standing upright, you've got the arch in your back. Perfect, neutral spine. Now, bend your knees. And I want you to take your legs vertically into the air. Okay, do you notice how you're having to really pull the legs up to try and keep the legs there? Okay, and look, the legs aren't even vertical. They're at a little bit of an angle here. So it's a bit of a struggle on your hip flexors. And notice the stomach's also trying to pop out a little bit because you're actually straining muscles there. Okay, the arch, however, has gone. So your neutral spine has gone from an arch and just squashed down without anything else moving or shifting around. So in actual fact, you're doing this with your spine. Okay, relax again, bend the knees. So imagine this. Imagine the Sydney Harbour Bridge superimposed into the arch of your lower back. You've got one pylon, which is your hip, the other pylon, which is your rib cage. That arch will be there when you are in this position here or in legs straight down on the ground. But when the legs are in the air, that arch has disappeared. But those pylons have not moved. So consequently, what is happening to your back is this. It's compacting on itself. So therefore, you're going to get a strain in the back. You're going to strain your hip flexors. Not great for the exercising. Also, because you're compacting your lower back muscles and you're squeezing them tight, there are muscles that attach from the base of your spine to the base of your skull. If you squeeze these muscles here and then you try and curl forward, you're going to strain your neck. So let's take your legs back up again. The back is now flat. Hip flexors are straining because we're not getting the legs straight. Now try curling forward. Okay, hands mid-thigh level. Just stay there, don't grab your legs, just fingers forward. Okay, notice how much elevation there is here. Notice how much abdominal connection there is, so just move that hand out there. Notice how much the abs are up or down. Okay, hand back forward again. And also, how much neck strain you're getting after maybe even 5 seconds. Okay, because these muscles are being pulled down this way. Okay, relax back down again. So, what we're going to do here is what we call the offering. We've taken the name the offering from an exercise on the reformer called the offering, where you've got your hands in the straps and you're extending your arms forward like this. It's called the offering. So I need you to roll your backside up into the air, grab your butt, roll your spine down one bone at a time. So you're imprinting your spine down onto the floor and lengthening it out away from you when you get towards your backside. So you're offering your butt to your heels. That's how we got the name offering. So now there should be no arch in the back at all. Okay, so let's go back to that test exercise. So bend the knees up, take the legs vertically into the air. Notice where the legs are now. They're not over here like they were initially. They're automatically here. Curl forward again. reaching mid-thigh level. Again, notice the elevation. The elevation is better. And also, the neck doesn't look like it's pulled back there. It actually looks more comfortable. How does that feel? Yes. Okay, if we move that arm out of the way just there for a second, the abs also don't look like they're poking out either. They look actually flatter than they were before. Okay? And relax back down again. So the offering is a huge, huge, huge thing that must be done in a lot of exercises which involve contraction. Otherwise, you will strain your neck and your back. The other major thing that we've got now, which we're working on abdominal strength and abdominal core, is a thing called the blast breath. Earlier, we talked about ocean breath. And ocean breath was in through the nose for a 5 count and a loud sigh out of the mouth for a 5 count, without holding your breath and without blowing. If you blow, you can actually see the strain in the neck muscles here. Okay? Certain exercise programs do blow, but here it's so actually just let your jaw drop and let the air come out. So you can squeeze and use your abdominal muscle to do that. So get all the air out of your lungs. Like Pilates said, it's like wringing water out of a towel. Get every last atom of air out of your lungs. Okay? So what we're going to do here with a blast breath is we're going to do an exercise which actually connects your abdominals, which is very, very important to help you work the rest of the abdominals. Kara, just curl forward again with hands at mid-thigh level, just ribs to hips there. Again, notice how much elevation there is here. And now go down onto your side, lie on your side, facing the front. We've created this exercise called lateral core control, which basically is to control the lateral core muscles here. Straighten your legs, bring them around at a 45-degree angle. Your hands on there, that's it. The hand underneath the head is palm up, so you don't push palm down, so you don't cheat by pushing down. A little bit of a tuck, okay? Feet flexed, one on top of the other, that's it. And you're going to lift the legs into the air with a blast breath. Now, the definition of a blast breath is all the air out of your lungs in less than a quarter second. Okay, it goes like this. And then slow breath in. Have you ever had a coughing or a laughing fit and your abs kill you? Notice the action of that cough or the laugh. It connects these muscles here very, very firmly, and it's these side ones, and they kill like anything. So blast breath is actually very, very good for your transverse abdominal muscles. Laughing is fantastic for your core. So take a breath in, keep the shoulder blade relaxed here, and a blast breath out. Good. And touch and lift. You're going to do it about, we'll do 10 of these. Try, if you can, not to rest the legs so you can feel that the arm isn't relaxing either. But there's a bit of cheating going on here because there's a push on the arm. That's fine. Don't worry about it. It still works these muscles. And if you put your fingers in there, you'll actually feel them working quite a lot. We're going to try and stabilize here more by holding that position there so you're not rolling back too much. We don't mind, and relax, and let's change sides. We don't mind if you cheat a little bit. It is much better to get the muscle working, to get the movement going without any discomfort or pain because you're actually still working the muscle. Trying to get it specifically done from the very, very first repetition just doesn't make sense. So get the body moving, get it working, because as you get the muscles connected, we'll then define them so that we can then make them work more specific later. Okay, lengthen out. Take a breath in, and a blast. Now, the legs are at a 45-degree angle forward. And I'll show the difference in a second as to why we want it at 45 degrees. And it's much tougher. Most people won't even be able to lift their legs here. 2 more. Use the blast breath. That's it. And relax. Okay. Lying on your back again with your head up over here, where we were originally. And do the offering. Okay. And again, just curl forward with the hands at mid-thigh level. Okay, again, if you notice the difference here, there's more height in here and less neck strain. But coming back to the abs, how do your abs feel now connecting compared to before?
Better, stronger.
Better, stronger. Is there more area connecting?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're actually going to feel sides here as well connecting. Not just your rectus abdominis, which is that six-pack that you're trying to do this all the time, because these don't work. If these work, they will also work in forward flexion, and they will help you with this. So if you start straining from your rectus abdominis, it will give way, and you'll start straining your neck, or you'll strain your back. But if these are supporting you, you can stay up for a lot longer. Another very important point when it comes to abdominal connection is the psoas muscle. Just to keep it very, very brief, your psoas muscle is a muscle that attaches from the lower lumbar vertebra, comes across the pelvis, and attaches to the top of your femur or your thigh bone on the inside, the medial side of your femur. The action of that muscle is a hip flexor. Basically, it flexes the bones from the hips, so it'll assist in lifting the leg up when you're standing or sitting. It also assists in, once you've done a small stomach crunch and your six-pack, your rectus abdominis has done the work, it lifts you into an upright sitting position. So that small muscle in the back can actually do an enormous amount of work. If your abdominals are weak, it becomes very, very strong and it arches your back a lot more. So one way that we have discovered to try and stretch this muscle is actually with a new position that we have in all our programs called Menezes position. Now, this is what this involves, and we're going to show you this from a point of view of how the effect is on your back. So what I'd like you to do is, you've done the offering already, Cara, so you're going to draw your knees up to your chest, take your legs up into the air. We're not going to strain your neck here at all, so we're just going to keep your head down on the ground, palms are up. Keep your legs as straight as you comfortably can. Your back is still flat. Okay, in this position here, if we draw a line from the navel to the spine, that'll hit it, like we mentioned before, your L2, L3 vertebra. Imagine there's a coin under there. We call that the lumbar coin. Okay, that coin is now flat. Underneath the sacrum, or near your tailbone, just above your tailbone, there's a bone there called the sacrum. In the center of that, there is another coin called your sacral coin. When both coins are down, we call that stable spine compared to neutral spine. So when you've got stable spine, your tailbone, sacral area is down, and your lumbar area is down. So there's nothing tilting anywhere. So what we're going to do is you're going to keep your lumbar coin down and lower the legs to where you feel your back is, where that lumbar coin is just about to lift. Okay? So this is the angle here. Watch the angle here. And also, if you notice, this is starting to pop up over here. So let's go back up here to the center again. So this time we're going to go into Menezes position. We're going to try and stretch that psoas. The psoas will stretch by turning the femur inwards. So internal rotation of the femur like that. So the toes come together. Sometimes you might find that this is going to strain a lot of people on the muscles here. It just takes getting used to, but it does strain quite a bit there. So we've now got the knees turned in, we've got the feet turned in, the heels are open, and now lower the legs to where your lumbar coin stays down. Okay, notice the lumbar coin is flatter. This is not poking up. Look at the height of the legs, much, much lower, and then come back up again. Okay, so you can see from here that by internally rotating the femur, just keep your hands out by your sides there for a second. So get into Menezes position again, flex your feet, pull the toes back, good. The knees are open here as well, okay. So keep the lumbar coin down because we can see the shot in the side view here, and lower the legs to where the lumbar coin stays flat. Okay, okay, so there's no arch in the back there. Okay, hold that position. Now bring your feet back together again, heels together, and notice how your back wants to really, really strain and struggle to come back up there, and this is popping up, and you can't hold it there for long. Okay? So on most of the exercises that involve the legs in the air, you've got Menezes position where the toes are together, the knees are open. There are other exercises here, for example, if you're doing stomach crunches. Feet are on the ground. Make sure there's a right angle at the knee joint, so the feet have to go a bit further away. Keep the knees together and open the feet wide, and flex the feet. So again, you're internally rotating the femur. The abs are going to go a lot flatter because the psoas isn't pulling up to try and connect because it's being stretched. So therefore, you're going to work your abdominals for strength, not just to try and keep the psoas down as well. Okay? So now you get much, much stronger abs in a shorter space of time by using this position here. Now, the next thing we're going to do is talk about where the hand position is behind the head. So if you can sit up for a second with your back to the camera. In this position here, when a lot of people have their hands behind their head, they'll have them here on their temples or behind their ears. Just do that for a second, Cara. Okay, so notice if you're doing stomach crunches, for example, and your hands are here by your ears, which is what most people do, notice the angle of the humerus here. It's almost at a right angle to the torso here. The muscle that connects from the humerus to your torso here is called your latissimus dorsi, or your lats, or that V-shaped bodybuilders get. Okay? Its function is to actually stabilize your shoulder. So if you squeeze your shoulder blades down, it connects over here. And you can feel that. If you do it, you can feel that connection there if you bring your arm down. If you're doing a lat pull down, for example, that's why it's called a lat pull down. But if you connect this muscle here, when you're contracting or curling forward, the function of this muscle, once you've curled past this certain point here, is to actually, when it connects, is to pull you down, so it brings you back to the floor, so you can't do your stomach crunches correctly. You've got to get this lat out of the way as much as possible in order for you to curl the upper part of your back. So, standing upright, we've got what we call here the top position. So you're going to interlock your thumbs and your fingers. So your thumbs are just touching each other, okay? And never, ever, ever put your thumbs on your neck. So thumbs down here like this. Never do that when you're doing stomach crunches, because whatever you touch works. You will strain your neck if your thumbs are there. So get your thumbs up to here, and in the base of your skull, lift your hands up just higher. In the base of your skull, right up here, where the skull dips in, and you'll feel that if you put your finger there. Put your thumbs into that spot there, okay? Notice how high the thumbs are. They're not going to strain the neck. They're not going to touch the neck. That little dip in the skull is called your occiput. This position here, where it's thumbs on occiput, we call top position. Capital T, capital O, capital P. Thumbs on occiput. Not exactly the letters, but it works. So whenever you've got your hands behind your head, always have this position here. The other major point that we've instigated now is whenever you're doing stomach crunches, don't pull on your head. Press your head into your hands 5% and let the abs do the work to curl forward. So let's get you back onto your back again. Doing the offering. 90-degree angle at the knee joint. Knees together, feet wide open, feet flexed. Hands in top position. Take a breath in. Elbows a little bit wider. And an ocean breath out to bring your ribs to your hips. Good. Keeping your eyes up here, chin up here. Keep going. When you go back, don't go all the way back as well. So you want to keep the muscle continuously working. If you take a rest with your head touching the cushion, you're going 1, 1, 1, not 10 continual actions. So you're resting in between each repetition. Keep the abs scooped in and going back too far. Just to there, that's enough. And forward. Now, keep the elbows wider. Press your head into your hands 5%. That's it. So keep the head pressed into the hands. Can you feel the abs connecting a bit more then? So by pressing the head back that way, you're actually working your abs harder. You're also working them harder because of the position of your legs here. So a couple of major points happening here to work your abs, and notice how flat they are. Okay? If you bring your feet together, okay, and now just pull on your neck when you come forward, notice how it pops up as well. Straight away you can see it popping up the center here, and relax, and you will strain your neck. Okay? Now, we're going to go over some breathing techniques as well. So we've got 5 different breathing rules, and they're very specific when it comes to specific exercises. They cover the majority of exercises in Pilates, Menezes Pilates, or even in the gym. So when your arms are vertically in the air, this is rule number 1A. When the arms are vertically in the air, palms are facing in. When your arms go overhead, breathe out. So, and flatten the rib cage. So breathing out, flatten the rib cage. So you're trying to keep that lumbar coin down as well. When you lift from the triceps, breathing in. And coming up, breathing in. Okay, so whenever you're using a long lever, the principle here is never lift from the distal part of the lever because you will strain the joint. Work from the proximal muscle by the joint, and that will work that muscle there. So when you release, breathe out to let go, flatten the rib cage, good, and then lift from the triceps, breathing in. That'll stabilize your shoulder. So it's a breath out to go over, and a breath in to come up. Now, let's try the reverse. Breathe in, huge deep breath in when you go over. And notice the back wants to arch. You can see the rib cage popping out, and the back is definitely arched more. So you're not stabilizing your back at all if you do that breathing where you breathe in to go over, which is what most people want to do. The same with the legs here. So when the legs or the arms move from the vertical away from your center, breathe out. So rule number 1A, when the arms and the legs move from the vertical away from the center, breathe out. Breathing rule 1B. So, Kara, can you take your arms up into the air, vertical, just above the chest here. And 1B is when your arms or your legs move laterally away from the median, which is the line straight down your middle, called the median, M-E-D-I-A-N. You breathe in. So breathe in to open and out to close. And again. And remember, you're working the muscle proximal to the rotating joint. So squeezing from your bicep, forgetting about the hand. Even if you have a weight in the hand, forget about it. Just work from the bicep muscle. It'll work the pec muscle better as well. So breathe in to open and also close the rib cage. So the breathing still comes into this. It's ocean breath out. So close the rib cage, and that'll also firm up the thoracic area and work the abdominals more. Okay, the next breathing rule. It's a very simple rule. Whenever contracting, rotating, or side flexing your torso, breathe out. So if you're contracting into the position here, Kara, just curling forward, that's a breath out. Don't hold your breath. I see so many people doing these exercises, they hold their breath when they go up and down. So breathe in and ocean breath out. Okay, pretty simple. Okay, the next one is sitting upright, part of this. You can notice there is more movement here. And then squeeze the core and breathe in to come up. So whenever you're using that core, it's a breath in to come up from side flexion, squeezing the core. The next breathing rule is on all fours. Okay, so just to recap that last breathing rule, Whenever rotating, contracting, or side flexing the torso, breathe out. Now, the breathing rule for here is any movement away from your center or median, breathe in. So when on all fours, any movement away from the center or median, breathe in. And that should be also when you're lying on your side as well. So what you'd want to do here is, say, for example, Kara's taking the opposite arm and opposite leg. Just notice this for a second. What I'd like you to do is you're going to do opposite arm and opposite leg, but breathe out, which is what most people want to do, is a breath out. So deep breath out to extend the arm and leg. Okay, and watch this area here. Kara doesn't know which area I'm talking about. Breathe in to come back down. And again, other side, breathing out. Okay, notice the area. Come back down again. Okay, this time, take a breath in, to hold the position, don't move. Take a breath out. No, don't move, don't move, don't move. Take a breath out. Now breathe in and extend the opposite arm and leg. And notice the difference here. And again, change. Breathe out to go down. In. Again, notice the area. Much, much, much more stable. And back down again. Okay? So you can feel by breathing in, we didn't even say strengthen your core, work your core, pull your beeline in. You automatically, by the intra-abdominal pressure, support that area so you actually feel like there's less back strain. Okay? Okay, the next breathing rule, the last breathing rule, is when lying on your side or prone, anything you lift, breathe out, except when prone and lifting your torso, breathe in. So let's try that. Lying on your side, arm out underneath the head, palm up, legs straight out in front of you. Sorry, in that angle there. Good. And all you're going to do here is lift your legs. And you'll breathe out to do that if you were breathing. Take a breath in and breathe out to lift. Good. Just a long breath, ocean breath out. Good. And keeping your hips stacked as much as you can. There you go. Good. Now try breathing in. It's really difficult. Okay? So it's a breath out to lift. If you were on your side and lifting your torso, say for example, I took Kara's hand and I was going to lift her up this way, breathe out. Okay? And again. Right. Try that breathing in. It's not easy, and down, and you probably don't feel very comfortable doing that. So whenever you're lying on your side or prone, so let's go onto your stomach. So if you're going to lift, and say in this position here, what they call swimming, but a slow swim, lifting the opposite arm and opposite leg. So rest your head down. Okay, extend your arms forward. Good. So opposite arm, opposite leg, breathing out. Not too high, because you don't want to impact the back too much. Breathe in to lower, and change. And slowly down so there's no banging. Keep your beeline up off the floor here to support the back. So it's a breath out to lift, in to lower. However, there was an exception to this rule, which is bring your hands down to your ear level. Good. And now when you're coming up, again, a lot of people breathe out on this movement. So you're going to come up into a swan. So breathing in to come up and out to go down. Okay. Now, we're going to try and do this the reverse. Most people want to breathe out to do this because they think it's an out on the effort. So breathe out to come up, Kara. And just notice this area here and look at the shape of it. Oh, down you go again. This time you're going to take a breath in to come up. Okay, and you notice this is not so compacted as it was before. Okay, and relax down. So, recapping that rule, whenever you're lying on your side or prone, which is on your stomach, anything you lift, breathe out, except when prone and lifting your torso, you breathe in. This series of warm-ups is for all Menezes Pilates DVDs. We're going to start with a standing roll down. When you're standing, make sure you're not standing on a mat, you're standing on a firm surface with your tripods engaged, knees softly bent, beeline engaged, squeeze the core, shoulder blades into the pocket, points of the elbows back, lengthening through the crown of the head, nose up. Take a breath in without moving, staying where you are, ocean breath out, just closing your rib cage so you can feel the rib cage doing the work. Deep breath in into the upper back and armpits, and ocean breath out. One more time, keep the beeline in, a little bit of a tuck, ocean breath out. This time take a breath in, roll the chin onto the chest, and breathing out, peel off an imaginary wall, one vertebra at a time. Going down as far as you comfortably can, let your hands hang to the floor, hold for the breath in, Suck your beeline in and use your beeline to come up, breathing out. Keep tucking when you're coming up, one bone at a time. Lengthen through the crown of the head, shoulder blades into the pocket. Take a breath in. Roll the chin forward again, breathing out. Press your spine into that imaginary wall, one bone at a time to go down. Remember, the wall takes the shape of your spine. It's not a flat wall. Relax at the bottom, taking a breath in. Relax your head. Use the beeline to come up, breathing out. Squeeze the core from halfway. Lengthen all the way up to the crown of the head. Breath in, one more time. Roll the chin forward, breathing out. Peel off the wall, rounding your spine, one bone at a time. Relax at the bottom. Take a breath in. Notice how far down you are when you're relaxing at the bottom so you can compare it at the end once you've finished your program. Keep tucking all the way upright and relax. This exercise is called the stamina stretch. Standing next to a wall, this can also be done in the door frame of a door, which is much better because you get a better stretch by hanging onto the door. But for these purposes, we're going to use a wall. Standing about hip distance away from the wall, the inside hand closest to the wall, the point of the elbow faces the body and the hand is flat on the wall. The top hand goes over into what we first call a basic position with the fingers facing up at forehead level. So down a little bit more. Good. Take a breath in here. Breathe out. Stretch away from the wall. Turn the beeline and inside foot to the wall. Stretch away further. And then tuck. And then breathe into the top shoulder blade and armpit and ocean breath out. Slide the inside hand down the wall more because you don't want to hunch that shoulder or neck. Okay, keep tucking, keep stretching. So the formula here was ST. Stretch, turn, stretch, tuck. If you want to get more of a stretch into the upper part of the shoulder, the fingers can go backwards, so facing backwards for those of you who can get them backwards. And for those of you who are even more flexible, the fingers can go down to the floor and stretching away from the wall. That gives you much, much more rotation. You're not trying to arch your back here. By tucking, you're trying to actually stretch your lower back. So if you feel this in the spine near the center, turn your beeline more towards the wall. And then stretch more and then tuck more. One more breath. If you feel your neck, you can look down to your foot. So turn the nose to the floor. When you're coming up out of this, squeeze your core and breathe in to come up and relax the arms. And then if you do a comparison stretch or comparison breath, take a deep breath in and notice the difference in the lung on the side you just stretched. Let's turn around and face the other way. So the inside hand is down, touching the wall. The top hand goes over to your preferred position. Stretch. Turn the beeline and inside foot to the wall. Stretch out further and tuck. And keep breathing into the top shoulder blade. If the outside knee bends, that's fine if it allows you to get more tuck. Keep lengthening the crown of the head towards the wall. Slide the bottom hand down the wall more, and it can even come off the wall, so there's no reason why it should be on the wall. Turn the top elbow up to the ceiling without arching the back too much, so you're still tucking. Breathing into the top shoulder blade as if someone had their hand on that shoulder blade and you were breathing into their hand. Remember, if you feel your neck, turn your nose to the floor, and that'll take any tension out of the neck. Keep turning the top elbow up to the ceiling and the bottom shoulder forward, which will give you much more of a stretch into the lateral side that you're now stretching. One more breath. Squeeze the core and breathe in to come up. And relax the arms. The next part of the warm-up is the start stretches. So the first one is diamond. So if you bring your legs up into diamond position, the important thing here is not to bring your feet all the way up into your groin because you'll feel like you're going to fall backwards. You want to be able to sit as tall as you can on your sit bones very comfortably. If this is not comfortable, you can sit on a towel or on an elevated pad, which makes it much more comfortable for the hip joints. We're going to start by taking the arms up into the air. Place the hands down the back between the shoulder blades, but not crossed over. The biceps are close to the ears. Take a breath in. Breathe out and curl as if you're curling over a beach ball. Your last rib stays against an imaginary wall. Take a breath in into the armpits. Ocean breath out, curling down. Breathing out, curling down. And hold that position and keep breathing in that position. Deep breath in through the nose, ocean breath out. Every time you breathe out, you're curling down a little bit more, but keeping the chin off the chest, otherwise you will feel the neck. And also keep your shoulder blades down into the pocket, otherwise the shoulders will hunch. If you find this is uncomfortable on the neck, you can bring your elbows forward down towards the floor. That'll make it a lot more comfortable. If that is still uncomfortable for certain people, you can cross the hands across the chest in front of you, and that makes it a little bit easier on the neck. The legs are flopped to the floor, so just relax them totally. Some people don't realize how tight those knees are until they say flop. And then one more breath. Squeeze the core, breathing in to come up, reach the hands up to the ceiling, and relax the hands by the sides. Straighten up the legs in front of you, keeping the ankle bones together, flex the feet, both arms up into the air, hands down the back again, and curling in again as before. Scooping the abdominals, leaning a bit slightly forward on this one. So if you feel your hamstrings are very tight, bend your knees slightly so that you can keep your back upright. And then curl in with the feet still flexed. So you can bend the knees as much as you like, as long as you feel more stretch in the back. You will feel this in the lower back or across the shoulder blades, probably about a 4 or a 5 out of 10, using the scales that we've got, which are called the safety scales. You want to work up to an 8 out of 10, which is a very strong, comfortable stretch. This will be about a 4 or 5 out of 10. Keep the toes together. Keep the beeline scooped in, shoulder blades into the pocket. Squeeze the core and breathe in to come up, reaching the hands to the ceiling, chin up, relaxing the hands by the sides. This time, take one leg out to the edge of the mat, bend the other foot to knee level. Once again, don't bring the heel all the way up into the groin because it will actually restrict your rotation on this exercise. The extended foot is flexed. Take both arms up into the air as tall as you can. Turn past your bent knee as much as you can, keeping your left hip on the ground. Reach over, grab the foot with the left hand, and place the right hand between the shoulder blades, looking to the side. So if you can't reach your toe, you can grab the ankle. Every time you breathe out, flop further down, turning your nose up to the ceiling. So you should feel this in the side or in the hamstring or both. Once again, if the hamstring is much, much tighter, bend the knee so that you can actually feel it more up the side and a little bit in the hamstring as well. You're trying to corkscrew up to the ceiling at the same time so the top shoulder blade goes back, keeping the elbow lengthening towards your long toes. So keeping the bicep close to your ear, fingers down your back as much as you can. A common mistake here is that people take the elbow up to the ceiling and that will reduce the stretch. Keep lengthening through the crown of the head, grabbing the toe if you can. One more breath. Stay where you are, take a breath in, breathe out, extend both arms, and curling upright, breathing in. Relax your arms, and change sides. Both arms up into the air, tall as you can, turn past your bent knee, reach over, grab the foot with the hand, top hand between the shoulder blade, and breathing out to go down. Again, keeping your beeline in, bicep close to the ear, nose to the ceiling. And flop down. You're trying to bring the bottom armpit towards your knee. So once you get a good comfortable grip on the toe, you can bend that elbow to pull yourself further down. Keep pressing both knees to the floor unless the extended knee is really tight and you need to bend it. So do whatever you can that's comfortable. Keep the beeline in all the time, lengthening the crown of the head towards the toe and the tip of the top elbow. One more breath. Stay where you are, take a breath in, breathe out, extend the top hand parallel to the bottom hand, and squeeze your core, breathe in to curl up, and relax the arms. Next one is the quadricep stretch, so kneeling upright, one leg up and one foot on the ground. Place your left hand on your left buttock, the right hand on your pubic bone. Lean forward slightly with the torso, not the hips. So leaning from the hips forward, that's it. And take a breath in and tuck. Press your buttock down, pull your pubic bone up. So it's not a thrust, it's not a lunge, it's a rotation of the pelvis. Keep leaning forward from the torso so that you can actually stretch the lower back out. So your nose is actually facing down to the floor. Make sure that the heel is below the knee of the supporting leg. If you need more of a stretch here, you can raise the back leg by putting it up against a wall, just making sure that you've got good padding underneath the knee, or it can go up just onto a foam roller or onto a higher cushion. This will increase the stretch tremendously. You need to get a 9 out of 10 stretch here, which is a borderline pain, because you want that stretch on the quadricep. You do not want any pressure in the knee joint, so any discomfort in the knee, stop the exercise or put more padding underneath the knee. Keep squeezing the core, elbows down to the floor, and your eye gaze is down to the top of the mat. 2 more breaths. Keep tucking on every breath out further and further so you feel the stretch up the thigh. And coming upright and change legs. So right hand, right buttock, left hand pubic bone. Make sure the heel is directly below the knee at all times. Take a breath in, leaning forward from the torso, from the hips, and breathe out and tuck. Press the buttock down, pull the pubic bone up. Remember, this is not a lunge. You're not trying to get your hips forward. You're not going to get your knee further past your heel. If this isn't strong enough on the quadricep, you can raise the foot up against a wall, making sure there's pressure, that there's a pad underneath the knee so there's no pressure on the knee. So it can go up against a wall or on a foam roller or on a cushion to elevate the foot, which will stretch the quadricep more. Deep, deep breaths, elbows to the floor, and you're using that back hand to press down to the floor and the front hand to pull up without arching the back, which is why you've got the lean forward so you don't feel any pressure in the back. Shoulder blades relax down into the pocket, squeezing the core. 2 more breaths. Keep the breathing flowing, so there's no holding of the breath at any point. Squeeze the core so you can work the lateral muscles of the torso. And ocean breath out and relax. Next exercise is the hamstring stretch. So cushion underneath the head, do the offering to lengthen out the spine. The knees are at a right angle. Take one leg up into the air and bring it back towards your body. And if you can hold on to it with both hands without hunching your shoulders, do so. Otherwise, bend the knee slightly to bring it back towards you. Flex the foot. And keeping the knee locked in that position, ocean breath out to draw the leg towards your shoulder. Bending the elbows slightly up so you can breathe into your armpits. Keep the foot flexed so you can get the stretch all the way through the back of the leg. Every time you breathe out, you're bringing back the leg a little bit more each time without bending the knee too much. A 15-degree bend is sufficient. Keep pressing the hip into the floor of that same leg you're stretching so the hip does not come off the floor. Keep a tripod on your left foot so the knee doesn't drop open. Elbows are still slightly up so you can breathe into your armpits. Every so often in this position, you might feel that your shoulders are overworking, so just flop the head from side to side to do a neck check so that your neck is relaxed while your shoulders are under strain. Keep flexing the foot. Keep the foot locked in that position. The leg will shake a little bit in some cases if the muscle is too tight. Keep the core squeezed. Keep the breathing going. 2 more breaths. And relax and change legs. Taking the other leg up into the air. Reach and hold on to the leg. Flex the foot. Bend the knee slightly, 15 degrees. And interlock the fingers, draw the leg back towards you. Making sure that the thumbs are always at the back of the leg. Keep breathing. Flex the foot. Tripod on the other foot so the knee doesn't drop open. Squeezing your core. Keep pressing the hip into the floor as well. That will give you an increased stretch into the hamstring. If you're feeling it tremendously behind the knee, you don't need to flex the foot. It can stay relaxed. Remember, the thumbs are in the back of the leg because if the thumbs are on the front of the leg, they're actually giving your brain a signal to push the leg away from you. Keep bending the elbows slightly each time to draw back towards your shoulder, keeping the leg in line with your shoulder, not cutting across the body towards your nose. Shoulder blades into the pocket, and the occasional neck check. 2 more breaths. And relax. The next exercise is the side blasts. So the arm underneath the head is palm up. The legs are one on top of the other. The top hand is on the floor at waist level. Start with a tuck. Keep the feet flexed. Take a breath in to start. And a blast to lift. Good. Try and keep the hips stacked on top of each other. Do not rest in between, so you're going almost all the way down and straight back up again without resting. Keep the head relaxed on the arm. Keep tucking all the time, keeping the ankles together. Put more of a blast to lift the legs. Make sure that this blast breath starts slightly before the movement. For the last 4, we're going to take the top leg forward of the bottom leg, other way around. Take a breath in to start, and blast. Good. This is a more advanced version. Eventually, you want to stay on your fingertips and not with the flat palm on your hand. And the next version up from there is to take your hand off the floor, put it in top position, and we'll get to that one eventually. And relax. Change sides. Both legs stacked on top of each other, legs at 45 degrees. The hand at waist level on the floor, the other hand is palm up. Take a breath in, tuck the pelvis, and blast. Remember, the definition of a blast breath is all the air out in less than a quarter second. So it's got to be short and sharp. The top arm will do a lot of work, but don't worry, that will get easier, and eventually you'll go on the fingertips, and then the hand goes behind the head in top position with the elbow forward. One more, and then we're going to take the top leg forward of the bottom leg and keep going with the blast breath. This is much tougher, not as easy as it looks. And 2 more. Keep tucking, keep the head and arm relaxed, and relax. We hope you enjoyed this series of warm-ups. Please stick to them. They're very, very vital in order for you to get warmed up before you start your routines, which is why we have not included them in the rest of the routines, but they're to do every single day, even just as a warm-up if you're not doing any exercises.